Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and today we have the gameplay for Once Upon a TBR Honey Jar, which is my TBR game, and we are picking the books for March. I am really excited to see what I'm going to get for March. I've been having a good year so far. Not amazing, but good. And yeah, I have several books I would like to get on the TBR. We'll talk about those at the end. If I'm able to get them on, great. If not, I'll talk about them a little bit if they're going to be extras or anything like that. I do, of course, have my Genre-a-thon pick, which Genre-a-thon is my readathon that goes the whole year, and each month we're focusing on a different genre or age range. And for March, it's March Madness to read either a psychological thriller or a dark romance. I went the psychological thriller route with The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. And I'll talk more about this once we get to the book. So there's that one. I'll probably still have both Shogun and the Iliad and the Odyssey, if I'm being honest. I'm hoping I can complete them in February. I might have a shot at Shogun, but I'm not thinking so because it is so dense. But there's a chance I could finish this. The Iliad and the Odyssey, probably not happening, but there is a chance. So these may or may not be on March's TBR. But I just wanted to mention them just in case they are. So we have those as well. And yeah, before we get into the gameplay, I do have some honey jar prompts to put back in the honey jar, of course. And there's only one that I didn't get to in January that's going back in. Everything else are just ones that go back in. So the first one that just goes back in is Bookworm Physical TBR, which I choose a random number and I go onto my physical TBR list on my computer, and whatever number the book says, it's that book or the one I'm on in the series. We also have another bookworm, which is Instagram pick, which always goes back in, so that will go in there. Then we have neurodiverse rep, which is I ended up using a reward instead of this prompt, and so that goes back in because I didn't actually fulfill it. And then lastly, this is the one I did not get to. It's also a bookworm, so it would have gone back in regardless. And that is same name or initials. So that one's going to go back in as well. And we'll just kind of mix these up a little bit here. Just like that. And yeah, I think that's everything for now. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the game board, and I will be right back. Alright, we got our game board set up. We do still have the reward we earned in December. So if I so choose, I can use this to forgo a honey jar prompt. We did land on a 4 last time, which is rabbit. So if I roll rabbit again, I can choose to re-roll. I don't have to, which rabbit is a free choice, so I'm not likely to do that. If I roll a 3, it's piglet, which is autobuy, author, or reread. If I roll a 2, it's Pooh, which is classic or comfort read. And if I roll a 1, it's Christopher Robin, which is a coming of age or middle grade and younger. Of course, we also have the colors and their genres. So if I land on blue, that's a sci-fi. Yellow is historical. I still need to fix it. It does not need to be fiction. It can be nonfiction. Green is fantasy. Red is romance. Orange is mystery or thriller. Purple is any genre. And if I land on a black, I move forward 3 spaces and use that genre for that color. But I do need to pull 2 honey jar prompts if I land on black. The genres this year, I'm being kind of loose. I'm not trying super hard. It's more kind of a suggestion of the genre rather than a hard and fast rule, just because I'm really trying to read my physical books and get these books that I have projects for and such. So the honey jar prompt is the most important one as far as this game goes. So first up, let's go ahead and roll and see which character we're gonna get. Shake it up really good and drop. Okay, so we got a 3, which is Piglet, and that is an auto-buy author or a reread. Alright, let's go ahead and get Piglet to the front here so he can get going. And let's see what our first disc is. I'll shake it up real quick. Try to open it. There it goes. Okay, so our first disc is going to be this one. Okay, so that's a purple. Purple and black are the only two I don't move forward to. I actually messed up last round at the end and I did move two. But generally speaking, I don't move two on purple or black. So we just go right here. And so that is any genre, but it does need to fulfill the prompt of, go right here. Okay, so this is Puss in Boots, and it needs to have a shoe or boot theme. So we'll have to figure that one out. Okay, and then next we're gonna go this one. Okay, so that is a blue, which is a sci-fi. So we're gonna go 1 and 2. And let's see what we get. So we need a sci-fi that fulfills the prompt of, let's go with this one. Okay, so sci-fi that has mermaids or water creature. Again, that kind of makes it hard for sci-fi. So the honey jar prompt is the most important aspect of this. All right. Do this one. Okay, so that is a green, which is a fantasy. We go 1 and 2. So we need a fantasy that fulfills the prompt of, let's do this one. Okay, so this one is kangaroos are from Australia. So we'll have to see what we can do there. All right, getting some interesting mixes so far. So let's see here. We can go with this one. Okay, so we have another purple, which is great, and that actually moves us pretty far. So it's purple on Pooh's corner. Purple's any genre, so that doesn't really matter. Generally, that would be a special square, which would mean any genre anyway. But let's see what we can pull here. Let's do this one. Okay, so this is Mowgli from the Jungle Book, and it's Bare Necessities. Okay, so we get some interesting ones here. Let's see what we can do. Next is this one, another green, so another fantasy. We go 1 and 2. So another fantasy, and it needs to fulfill the prompt of, let's do this one. Okay, so this is The Emperor's New Groove, so it needs to be a comedy. That's interesting. Yeah, I have a feeling we're not going to do a lot with the genres this month. It's going to be mainly the honey jar prompts. So let's see here. Okay, so this is red, which is typically romance. You can go here and then here. So possibly a romance that fits. This one's jumping out. Okay, so this is Encanto, so the house has to be prominent. All right, let's see here. This one. Oh, and we get a black. So that means we go all the way here, and then we go 1, 2, 3. So purple, it can be any genre, which is good because I have to choose 2 honey jar prompts. And if I can get one book that fits both, I can just choose one book. Otherwise, I have to choose 2. So the first one is Dumbo, so conservation or zoology. And then the second one will be this one. Okay, conservation and zoology in a frozen or cold landscape. So we'll have to see what we can do there, if we can combine those or not. Okay, so if we pull a red, a blue, or a black, we're done. If we pull a orange, we can move. Anything else will just go off to the side. Let's do this one. Okay, so we got another black, which means we actually go to this blue. It's the North Pole, so it doesn't really matter. And so we just need something that fulfills the prompt of persecuted people. This is the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So persecuted people, and let's do this one. Okay, we got the Little Mermaid, deal with the devil. So we'll have to see if we can combine those or not. that is the gameplay. I'm going to go ahead and choose my books, and I will be right back. Alright, I am back. I got my books picked out. It was actually a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. I definitely struggled with some of the prompts. There were some that I completely ignored the genre because there's just no way. But other ones that I thought I might have to ignore the genre, I actually got the genre that I had pulled. So let's go ahead and jump into. First, I'm going to mention the two books that I had hoped to get on here that I didn't. I'm not going to put them on as extras. If I have time, I will read them. But the first one is the last one in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I just didn't work for anything. So this one, I really do want to finish up this trilogy. So if I have extra time, I'll get to this. If not, I'll just keep waiting until it fits for a prompt on a TBR. There's that one, and then the other one I am working on the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. So I wanted to get the third one on there. Again, nothing I could see it worked for. So this one I'm not gonna worry about reading it as an extra, just because I have some other large books and I've done the first two. So if the second two have to wait a couple months, it's not a huge deal. I'll still be able to finish the series this year. So I definitely want to focus on some of the other larger books I have on my TBR. So this one, unfortunately, is just going to go back on the shelf. And hopefully I can maybe get it on for April or May. We'll just have to see. Of course, I already may have my two rollovers, which is Shogun, which is this. I read quite a big chunk. So I think I have just over 400 pages left. And then we have the Iliad and the Odyssey, which I still have quite a bit to go on that one. I might be able to finish these in February, but I highly doubt it. So these are likely rollovers for March. So we'll just have to see there. And other than that, I got everything else I wanted to get onto the TBR. I did have to kind of tweak some things a little bit, but we'll get into that. Of course, I already mentioned for my genre-a-thon, we have The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This one says, Anna Fox lives alone, a recluse in her New York City home. Unable to venture outside, she spends her days drinking wine, maybe too much, watching old movies, recalling happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way. A father, a mother, and their teenage son, the perfect family. But when Anna, gazing out her window one night, sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble, and its shocking secrets are laid bare. What is real? What is imagined? Who is in danger? Who is in control? In this diabolically gripping thriller, no one and nothing is what it seems. So, I will be reading that for my genre-a-thon pick. And then we got all our reads for the game. So first up we did roll a 3, which is Piglet, and that is either a auto by author or a reread. And so I decided to go with the reread route. I am this year working my way through the Harry Potter series. I read the first 2 last year. And so the next one up is the 4th one, which is Goblet of Fire. This is my childhood copy. See, it's a bit dirty, a bit beat up. But yeah, I've been rereading these, and so I'll be reading this one. Of course, if you don't know, Harry Potter, he is a boy wizard who lived. There's a dark lord that tried to take over back when he was a baby, tried to kill Harry, and he ended up living. And then he comes of age at, I think, 11, and he gets his letter to Hogwarts and goes off to the magical school to learn magic. In this one, there is a competition. So this is a fun one. So I'll be reading that one. Then we got a purple, which is any genre. It doesn't matter. Just whatever I want. And for this one, we got a hard one, which was Puss in Boots, which is shoe or boot theme. This one was harder than I expected. I was thinking maybe like a Cinderella retelling, but I really didn't have anything. So I decided to stretch this one just a little bit, but it makes sense in my mind, and these prompts are just for inspiration. So I'm going to be going with one of my ABC Title Challenge books, and that is Going Local by Jamie Harrison. And this, I believe it's the second one in a series, but I'm pretty sure it's fine to read just by itself. And so this one, it deals with like a rodeo, so I'm thinking cowboy boots. When I think rodeo, I think cowboy boots. So that's how I'm making it fit the shoe/boot theme, because cowboys, they wear boots. So says, let's see here. Jamie Harrison's first novel, The Edge of Crazies, gained her many devoted readers and rave reviews. Now going local, her lively and hilarious cast of characters from Blue Deer, Montana is back, featuring Jules Clement, the conscience, 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 an unlikely protector of the local populace. The novel begins as Blue Deer inhabitants are gearing up for the annual 4th of July rodeo, with out-of-towners descending upon the town in a kind of berserk westward ho. As Jules helps the hapless bar owners and other local merchants gear up for the onslaught, a shocking murder is discovered, that of a well-known environmental lawyer who, while camping out with his young lover, was run over by a truck and dumped into a lake, still wrapped in his tent. As Jules begins to investigate the murder, he uncovers a suspicious land development deal involving the dead lawyer and many others, including Hugh, a suave British director who's planning a movie that threatens to bring all Blue Deer to a complete stop, Sylvia, the dead lawyer's ex, who's having an affair with Hugh, Everett, a local boy who left town to make good, and Diane, a sexy blonde whose dubious charms Jules succumbs. She's like a mob car. You get in and all the locks go down. As if the impending movie shoot isn't bad enough, the annual rodeo threatens to drive to everyone in town batty. Tempers flare as out-of-towners try to beat cowboys, as true locals attempt ridiculous heroics, and multiple murders ignite the town in the midst of amorous going-ons. Jules is as charming as ever, and readers who enjoy the hijinks in Jamie Harrison's first novel will love going local. So, seems like a fun time. I'm really excited, and like I said, especially the one about out of towners trying to be cowboys. Um, there's always kind of a joke about how you can spot like a real cowboy versus a fake one, and the fake ones always, have like super nice dudded up boots and fresh hat and things like that. So that's kind of how I'm working that prompt because it was more difficult. The next one we pulled was a blue, which is sci-fi. And for this one, we got Peter Pan, which was mermaid or water creatures. So this one, I was like, this is going to be hard. And I don't know that there's water creatures in this specific one, but throughout the series, there have been these water creatures mentioned multiple times. So I'm going to go with it. And that is Barbarians Touch by Ruby Dixon. This is the 7th book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. So I am excited to continue the series. This is going to be a quick, easy read, which I definitely need with this stack you'll see going forward. And so I'm excited. So basically, if you're not familiar with the series, you have these women and they were sex trafficked by aliens, and their ship problems. They've got dumped on this ice planet where these big blue aliens live. And in order to survive on the planet, they have to get a Quee, which is like a symbiotic life force. And the Quee causes them to resonate to their mate. So in this one, the last one had 2 new girls that were discovered, and so this one's following one of those new girls and then her mate. So there's that. Like I said, throughout the series, these weird water creatures have been mentioned multiple times, so we're gonna go with it. Then the next one we got was a green, which is fantasy, and this one we got kangaroos are from Australia, and I actually had a couple options I could go with for this one. So I could have gone with the next one in the Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix. I've read the first 3, but Garth Nix is an Australian author, which I didn't know. And then I was reading the little blurb on the last one I read, and I was like, oh, he's an Australian author. I didn't know that. But I just read a book, a fantasy. It's light fantasy, but it does have fantastical elements, by an Australian author. I read the first one and I absolutely loved it. It was one of the top ones in January, and so I'm going to go with the next one in that series. I'm going to be reading The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. So I love the first one. Basically, you have, I think her name's Kiva, And in the first one, she's in this prison, which is one of the worst prisons. Like really, really work the prisoners hard, like basically to death. And there is an elemental magic aspect with like the royals and such. And so that's what I'm going with. And I can't wait to dive into the next one because, especially with the way the last one ended, I want to know what's going on. So this is my pick for that one. I was so excited that I wasn't even planning on reading this one right away again, or right away after the first one, but it worked out so perfectly. Then we got another purple, so any genre, and for this one we got Mowgli, which was Bare Necessities. And for this in January, I won one of the Goodreads giveaway, and I got this book, and I think it works really well. So I'm going to be reading a love song for Ricki Wilde by Tia Williams. I've been really interested in trying this author. I've been wanting to read 7 Days in June, but never have come across it, been able to pick it up. And so when I won this one, I was like, sweet, I can try that author. And then if I really like her, I can, search out 7 Days in June. So yeah, I got this. And this actually works for Buzzword, which is, what is it? I have it over here. Character name. So a character name in the title. So Ricki Wilde, that works. And this works for the Bare Necessities prompt because it says, Ricki Wilde has many talents, but being a Wilde isn't one of them. As the impulsive, artistic daughter of a powerful Atlanta dynasty, she's the opposite of her famous socialite sisters. Where they're long-stem roses, she's a dandelion, an adorable bloom that's actually a weed, born to float wherever the wind blows. In her bone, Ricki knows that somewhere a different, more exciting life waits her. When a regal nonagerian, Miss Della, invites her to rent the bottom floor of her Harlem brownstone, Ricki jumps at the chance for a fresh beginning. She leaves behind her family, wealth, and chaotic romantic decisions to realize her dream of opening a flower shop in New York City. And just beneath the surface of her new neighborhood, the music, stories, and dazzling drama of the Harlem Renaissance still simmers. One evening in February, as the heady, curiously off-season set of night-blooming jasmine fills the air, Ricki encounters a handsome, deeply mysterious stranger who knocks her world off balance in the most unexpected way. Set against the backdrop of contemporary Harlem and 1920s decadence, A Love Song for Ricki Wilde is a modern fairy tale of two passionate artists drawn to the magic and romance of New York and whose lives are irreversibly linked. So she's basically going from wealth and riches to just, she wants a simple life, just have her flowers and go with the flow, essentially. So I thought that worked really well for Bare Necessities, and it works for Buzzword, and I can get it read and reviewed right away. I'm pretty sure it comes out in February or sometime, so I'm not sure exactly when, but yeah, it came out in February. But I'm excited to get this read and get it reviewed. And so we will be doing that for that prompt. Then we got green, which is fantasy. I had to ignore the genre for this one. And we got Cusco, which from Emperor's New Groove. And this is to read a comedy, which I'm not a big comedy reader, but my other choice for my ABC title book this month does work for comedy, but it's not a fantasy in any sense of the word. And so I'm going to be reading How Hard Can It Be by Allison Pearson. And yeah, it's, hilarious look at being a woman of a certain age. This book is smart, sharp, and funny. So yeah, I'm hilarious, funny, and unflinching. So I'm excited to read this one. And like I said, it needed to get on there anyway. I was reading it anyway for my ABC title challenge. So it says, Kate Reddy had it all. A nice home, 2 adorable kids, a good husband. Then her kids became teenagers, read monsters. Richard, her husband, quit his job in favor of bicycling and therapy, dressing head to toe in lycra, drinking green potions, and spending his time and their money on his own counseling. Since Richard no longer sees a regular income as part of the path to enlightenment, it's left Kate to go back to work. Companies aren't necessarily keen on hiring a 49-year-old mothers, so Kate does what she must, knocks a few years off her age, hires a trainer, joins a women's returners group, and prepares a new resume that has a shot at a literary prize for experimental fiction. When Kate manages to secure a job at the very hedge fund she founded, she is thrown into an impossible juggling act, proving herself again at work, dealing with teen drama, and trying to look after increasingly feral parents as the clock keeps ticking toward her 50th birthday. Then an old flame shows up out of the blue, and Kate finds herself facing off with everyone, from Russian mobsters to a literal stallion. Surely it'll all work out in the end. After all, how hard can it be? So this sounds like such a fun time. And you don't get a lot of older protagonists, so I'm excited to have that aspect there as well. So there's that one. Then, let's see, we got Red, which is supposed to be romance. Again, ignore the genre on this one. Come on now. And this was Encanto, so the house prominent. And for this one, I had the perfect book, but like I said, it wasn't a romance, so I'm going with it anyway. And I was supposed to read this last year, didn't get to it. So we will be reading Thistlefoot by GennaRose Nethercott, because you have a sentient house. So it's perfect. The house is definitely prominent. It works great for this prompt. So you have the Yaga siblings, Bellatine, a young woodworker, and Isaac, a wayfaring street performer and con artist, have been estranged since childhood, separated both by resentment and by wide miles of American highway. But when called to receive a mysterious inheritance, the siblings are reunited, only to discover that their bequest isn't land or money, but something far stranger, a sentient house on chicken legs. Thistlefoot, as the house is called, has arrived from the Yaga's ancestral home in Eastern Europe, but not alone. A sinister figure known only as the Long Shadow Man has stalked it across continents, bearing violent secrets from the past, fiery memories that have hidden in Isaac and Ballatine's blood for generations, memories that have begun to awaken. As the Yaga siblings embark with Thistlefoot on a cross-country theater tour, the Long Shadow Man follows in relentless pursuit, as do the specters of history, including the forgotten fate of a small chateau and the house's original inhabitant, Baba Yaga. Ultimately, time, magic, and legacy must collide, erupting in a powerful conflagration to determine who gets to remember the past and craft a new future. A sweeping adventure illuminated by Jewish folklore and adorned with lyrical prose as tantalizing and sweet as briarberries. Thistlefoot is an immersive modern fantasy saga by a bold new talent. So that is my choice. Perfect for it, other than, like I said, the genre, which this year we're going with flow. We're not stressing. Next, we pulled a black, which had us move forward to a purple. So any genre on these, and I had to pick two honey jar prompts. The first is conservation or zoology, because it's Dumbo. And then the second one was Elsa and Anna from Frozen, so Frozen or Cold Landscape. And unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. I mean, I probably could have tried a little bit harder, but again, I had specific books I was trying to get onto this TBR, so I couldn't combine these at all. So I did have to choose two books. The first one I'm going with is going to be the next one in the Outlander series, which is Voyager by Diana Gabaldon. And this is because I'm trying to read this series this year, so I definitely want to at least read one a month. I can't remember how many there are, so I might not even finish it this year. But I want to make sure I'm reading one a month regardless. And so this one has nothing to do with conservation or zoology other than the author. So in the little blurb it says, Diana Gabaldon holds a bachelor's degree in zoology, a master's degree in marine biology, and a PhD in ecology, none of which has anything whatever to do with her novels. So, but I figured, even though the book itself, she has those degrees, and so I'm going to go with it. It does fit the prompt. So basically in Outlander, you have Claire, and she ends up going through these stones and gets sent back to late 1700s Scotland. And so then she ends up meeting this man and falling in love. And so it's kind of this saga, essentially. I'm still working on the first one. I didn't quite finish it in January, so I'm working on it. And hopefully can finish it up fairly early. And then I have the next one, the second one, to read before I can get to this one. If for some reason I don't get to the second one in February, I'll just swap that out in place of this one. This is over 1,000 pages though, so it's like, come on, why? So, but yeah, like I said, if for some reason I don't get to the first one or the second one in February, it'll just swap out because it still works because the author. So there is that one. And then we had our next one. Oh no, the next one for this one, the second one, was Frozen or Cold Landscape. So I'm going to be reading Babysitters Winter Vacation by Anne M. Martin. This is one of the super specials. And so yeah, it's winter vacation, snowy, it works good. And it's easy. It's a children's book, so that's why I'm going with this. So basically, every year, Stony Brook Middle School, the whole school, gets invited to Leicester Lodge in Vermont for a week of winter adventure. This trip sure isn't like any other. A busload of little kids unexpectedly needs babysitters. Marianne undercovers a ghost in the lodge. Claudia and Stacy both fall in love with handsome French skiers. Christy is helping her team win the Winter War, while California Dawn can barely stand up in her skates. And if it doesn't stop snowing, SMS may be snowbound until spring. So yeah, this is gonna be really nice and easy on top, especially this 1,000-page book. So there is for that black, and then we pulled another black, which got us to the last black square, which just has us move forward to the North Pole blue square. But because it's the North Pole, it can be any genre. And we got 2 prompts though because of black. So for this one, we got The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and this is Persecuted People. And then we also got The Little Mermaid, Deal with the Devil. Again, couldn't find something that fit for both. I really struggled with Deal with the Devil, and so there was that as well. But for Persecuted People, I decided to go with Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. You can see on the back, like, the different pictures. I love that it has a photograph aspect, but children or people in general who were different, whether physically or mentally, were often persecuted and, in the old days sent to these, like, sanatoriums and such, or mental health places, or not mental health, what are they called? You know what I mean, though. And so that's why I'm going this route. I did have some others. I could have, Thistlefoot would have worked because of the Jewish aspect. There was another book that I was looking at. So yeah, I had options, but this is the one I decided to go with. One, because it has pictures, which I love. And all these pictures I was reading in the back are, real vintage photographs. And only a few have been, like, altered in any way. And so it has a list of all those. But it says, a mysterious island, an abandoned orphanage, a strange collection of very peculiar photographs. It always to be discovered in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, an unforgettable novel that mixes fiction and photography in a thrilling reading experience. Other story opens a horrific family tragedy sets 16-year-old Jacob journeying to a remote island off the coast of Wales, where he discovers the crumbling ruins of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. As Jacob explores its abandoned bedrooms and hallways, it becomes clear that Miss Peregrine's children were more than just peculiar. They may have been dangerous. They may have been quarantined on a deserted island for a good reason. And somehow, impossible though it seems, they may still be alive. A spine-tingling fantasy illustrated with haunting vintage photography, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children will delight adults, teens, and anyone who relishes an adventure in the shadows. So, yeah, this is one I've been interested in quite a while, so I'm excited to finally get it, and I love the photography aspect, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then as far as for the deal with the devil aspect, I'm going to go with Dark Summer by Iris Johansen. She often does in her thriller books that people are pairing up that don't necessarily trust each other, they don't really have any other choice, and so they're kind of having to make this deal and work together to attack whatever's going on. So I could have gone with several different ones, but this one's nice and short, and it has an animal aspect that I liked, so I want to go ahead and read this one. And it was frustrating. I wish this one, Deal with the Devil, had been paired with conservation or zoology, because there are several. There's one that's a marine biology aspect, so I could have paired those two up. So that was kind of a shame, but that's okay. And so for this one, you have Devin Brady is a devoted veterinarian working in a makeshift hospital on a remote search and rescue mission. When a man arrives with his wounded black lab, Ned, she has no idea what she is about to be plunged into a whirlwind of terror and destruction. Jude Marek is out for revenge and has no choice but to involve Devin in a high-stakes cat-and-mouse game with an escalating body count. She doesn't trust him one bit, but when the shots start flying and friends start falling, she finds herself with nowhere else to run. So again, kind of that aspect of, I don't really have a choice. I'm going to have to, work with this person. And there are innocent lives, both human and animal, at stake, including those of Ned and his mysterious pack. Is Jude Devon's salvation or her damnation? Are the secrets he's protecting worth killing for or dying for? With a lightning fast pace, unforgettable characters, and gut-wrenching action, Dark Summer is compelling new terrain for this master storyteller. So, yeah, I think that will be fun. Obviously, I used to work in a veterinary hospital, both as an assistant and receptionist, and so I'm excited for this, and we'll see how that goes. But that is quite a lot of books. Let's see how many do we end up with. So we had 8, 9, 10, 11 from the game, plus my Genre-a-thon prompt. So that's 12. Which isn't terrible, except there's several chunky ones on here. But Harry Potter's super easy to read, so that shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. And I'm excited for these books. Several of them are ones I've been really interested in. Several of them are ones that have been on previous TBRs that I'm going to finally get to. So that is a good thing. And I think that's it for me. Go ahead and let me know down below a book you're currently reading or a book you're excited for that is coming up that you're planning on reading. Or if you're interested in any of these books or have read any of these books, I would love to get your thoughts on them. And if you don't know what to comment or you just want to let me know you're here and support me, go ahead and leave either a rabbit or any animal emoji down in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.